The old doll was never seen moving. That was what made everything worse. If it had walked across the room, everyone would have known what they were dealing with. Instead, it only appeared where it should not have been. And every person who encountered it eventually heard the crying. Not the cry of a doll, the cry of a baby. A baby that had not been born yet.
When Arthur bought the doll, he thought it was a harmless gift. His wife Mia was 7 months pregnant. For months, she had been collecting antique nursery decorations from flea markets and estate sales, tiny wooden horses, music boxes, hand-stitched blankets. The doll was meant to complete the collection. It sat inside a glass cabinet at the corner of the nursery. Porcelain face, black eyes, faded pink dress. The vendor who sold it seemed unusually eager to get rid of it. Arthur remembered asking why. The old woman had replied, "Because nobody keeps it for long." Then she laughed. At least, he thought she was laughing. The sound had been strange, like someone choking. 3 nights later, the screaming began. Not inside their house, next door. At 2:17 a.m., Arthur woke first. A woman's scream, then another, then silence. The kind of silence that follows something terrible. He looked out the bedroom window. The neighboring house stood dark, except for one upstairs light. A figure appeared briefly behind the curtain, then vanished. Minutes later, police sirens filled the street. The next morning, everyone learned the family next door had been murdered. Parents, daughter, even the family dog. No signs of forced entry, no valuables stolen. Only one strange detail. The daughter's bedroom wall had been covered in charcoal drawings, hundreds of them. Drawings of infants. That same evening, Mia found the nursery cabinet open. The doll sat on the floor, facing the crib. Neither of them remembered moving it. The first sound came 3 days later. A soft crying, barely audible, like an infant several rooms away. Mia searched every room. Nothing. The crying stopped. An hour later, it started again. Closer. This time, she was standing directly outside the nursery. When she opened the door, silence. Only the doll sitting inside, facing her. The crying became a nightly occurrence. Always after midnight. Always impossible to locate. Sometimes it sounded upstairs. Sometimes below the floorboards. Sometimes inside the walls. One night, Mia placed her ear against the nursery wall. The crying suddenly stopped. Then a whisper answered from the other side. "Mother." She screamed. Arthur searched the room. Nothing. The first physical incident happened during a storm. Mia was preparing the baby's clothes when every hanger inside the closet began striking the wooden rod. Tap, 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 tap. Like dozens of tiny fingers drumming in perfect rhythm. The sound continued for nearly a minute, then stopped.
When she opened the closet, she found every hanger facing backward. Each one held a baby outfit. Every outfit was wet, as though someone had soaked them in cold water. Arthur finally threw the doll away. He drove 20 miles to an industrial dumpster. He buried it beneath broken furniture and construction debris. The next morning, it was back inside the nursery cabinet, perfectly clean, not a scratch, not a speck of dirt. Mia never saw Arthur cry before. That morning, she did. The house changed after that. The air felt thicker. The temperature dropped. The crying became constant. Neighbors reported hearing it outside. A mailman heard it while standing at the front door. One neighbor claimed she heard a baby crying beneath the street itself, as if the sound came from underground. Mia stopped sleeping. Every night, she heard tiny footsteps above her bedroom ceiling. The problem was simple. There was no second floor, only an attic, an unfinished attic no one used. Arthur eventually climbed up to investigate. His flashlight revealed dust, boxes, old insulation, nothing else. Then he heard crying. Behind him, he turned. Silence. He turned back. One box had moved. Only a few inches. But enough. Enough to know. Inside the box, he discovered hundreds of charcoal drawings. The same drawings were found inside the murdered neighbor's home. Infants, cradles, pregnant women, and one repeated phrase, written again and again. She is almost ready. Arthur contacted a retired priest named Yusuf Rahman. The old man listened carefully, then asked one question. Has the child been born? No. The priest closed his eyes. Then it is not interested in you. Father Yusuf explained an ancient belief. Certain entities could not create life. They could only imitate it. Sometimes they attached themselves to objects, sometimes to places, and sometimes to unborn children. Not because they wanted the child, because they wanted what arrived with the child. A soul, fresh, untouched, easy to shape. The priest took the doll. He intended to destroy it. He never made it home. Police found him unconscious beside his vehicle. Every window shattered outward. The doll sat untouched in the passenger seat. When Yusuf regained consciousness days later, he refused to describe what happened. He only whispered. It spoke using the baby's voice. The pregnancy entered its final month. That was when Mia began hearing breathing. Not crying, breathing. A second breath beside her own. Every night, slow, patient, waiting. Sometimes she woke to find the breathing coming from beneath the bed. Sometimes from inside the closet. Sometimes directly beside her ear. Yet whenever she looked, nothing was there. The birth was successful. A healthy baby girl, Amina. For 3 days, everything seemed normal. Then the crying returned, louder than ever. Only now there were two infants in the house. One real, one unseen. And nobody could tell them apart. The recordings began. Arthur installed baby monitors. Every night, the monitors captured sounds, whispers, breathing, footsteps, and another child crying from empty rooms. Listening through headphones became unbearable. The cries contained words, tiny broken words, like a baby learning to speak. Only the voice sounded old, ancient, dry, hungry. One night, the monitor recorded Amina laughing. Then another child laughing with her. At exactly the same time. From the same crib. The family moved. New house. Different city. Different state. They left everything behind, including the doll. 3 days later, the doll appeared inside a sealed moving box. No one knew how. The box had never been opened. Amina became the focus. Toys arranged themselves around her crib. Doors locked on their own. Messages appeared on walls. Not written, scratched. Yours. Then later, ours. Then finally, mine. The worst night came during a power outage. Everything went dark. No electricity, no streetlights, no moon. Mia awoke to silence. Absolute silence. No insects, no traffic, no wind, no baby monitor. Nothing. Then she heard a cradle rocking, slowly, somewhere inside the house. Creak, creak, creak. She followed the sound. Every room empty, yet the sound continued, leading her upward toward the attic. An attic she had never entered. At the top of the stairs sat the doll, waiting. The cradle rocked behind it, by itself. Inside the darkness, a baby silhouette visible within. Mia rushed forward. The silhouette vanished. The cradle was empty, but something was still rocking it. That night, she finally heard the voice clearly. Not from the attic, not from the doll. From inside the baby monitor, the voice whispered,
"Give her to me."
Father Yusuf returned, weak, terrified, and carrying a warning. The entity no longer needed the doll. It had already crossed over. The attachment had worked. Now it wanted consent, a willing surrender. One soul freely offered. That was enough. The final confrontation lasted until dawn. Every room filled with crying. Not one child, thousands. The sound echoed from walls, vents, pipes, and ceilings. The house seemed pregnant with voices. The doll appeared repeatedly. Hallway, kitchen, staircase, nursery. Always still, always watching, never moving, yet always somewhere new. When sunrise approached, Mia discovered Amina missing from her crib. The baby's cries came from the attic. She ran upward. The cradle rocked violently. The darkness around it seemed alive. And from inside came the crying of every child she had ever heard. The entity offered a bargain. One soul for another. A willing sacrifice.
Mia prepared to give herself, to end everything, to save her daughter. But before she could act, Father Yusuf intervened. The old priest stepped forward and spoke a prayer that drowned beneath the screams. Then he made his choice. He offered himself. The crying stopped instantly. Every voice, every whisper, every breath, gone. Silence filled the attic. The doll fell over for the first time and shattered.
Weeks later, life returned to normal. Amina grew. The family healed. The nightmares faded. Until one afternoon, far across the country, inside an antique store, a woman purchased a porcelain doll. Pink dress, black eyes, perfect condition. The store owner asked if she wanted the display box. The woman smiled. Of course. As she carried it away, a baby cried somewhere nearby. No children were inside the store.